With the election just a few days away, we need to deep dive into their housing affordability policies that the Labour government as well as the Liberal government are proposing. Now, if you are watching this after the fact, you already know who's won, but it's still worthwhile checking out this video because I break down exactly what these policies mean, not just for the Australian property prices now, but how they will affect housing prices after the 1st of July in 2023. If you're interested, keep watching. Hey guys, my name's Ravi and welcome back to Personal Finance with Ravi Sharma. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button because I talk about real estate, cryptocurrency and financial freedom. Occasionally we'll go through an election where we pretty much pick who the worst option is to run this country.
No, I'm just kidding, but am I?
Now, with any election campaign, you are going to have to address housing affordability because, hey, we have a lot of people in Australia that are really struggling to buy a house. So what's the best way to get votes?
Let's chuck some more money at the housing market.
Because we all know at this point, the Australian economy is so infatuated with house prices always going up. Now, as a buyer's agent, full disclosure, yes, it's amazing when prices go up, clients are happy, I'm happy, we all own assets. However, we've also got to look at the other side. I'm definitely not someone who sits there and says,
hey, the market should go up 24/7, 365.
I think we need healthy corrections and it allows more people to actually go and buy their own homes. Now, the problem, believe it or not, is not actually hungry investors buying multiple properties. It's actually the government doesn't actually have a process for good education around finance, around taxation, and that's why we find ourselves having such a big divide between the rich who own assets and the poor who aren't able to get into assets. But more on that later. Let's find out exactly what the two parties are proposing in this election as part of their housing policy, and then let's just break it down. The coalition government, which is basically run by ScoMo if he gets elected as Prime Minister, is proposing you're able to dip into your super up to 40% to a maximum value of $50,000 to go and buy your first home. Now, for this policy, there are no limitations around income caps as well as property caps. The only restriction is that it has to be your first property and you'll only be required to have a 5% deposit. So
hey, what the hell could go wrong?
Well, I'll tell you what actually could happen. If you buy a property for a low deposit, be 5%, and the market drops by 10%, you'll find yourself in negative equity territory. And that is not a good thing. What that basically means is that your level of debt is higher than the actual amount your property is valued for. So even if you did get into financial strife and you decided to sell the house, guess what? You're gonna not only have to sell the house, but you'll also still have the debt that's carried against your name. Now, as this got announced, a lot of people threw a lot of hate at this actual policy, and I'm gonna deep dive into what this actually means, but let's cover off what the Labour government, led by Albanese, is proposing a help to buy scheme, which basically means let's go halfies on the property. You pay 70%, I'll pay 30%, I being the government, and then we can sort of, partner up and be friends. That way, you get the gains, but I also get the gains, and your mortgage repayments are a lot lower, but you'll have to give me capital gains as we go through this process. Now, I will go on to say that, hey, owning 70% of something is better than owning 100% of nothing. If you can't enter the real estate market because you don't have enough cash, you don't have enough savings, well, this could be a really good option. Look, I can't give you financial advice, and I definitely can't give you political advice because I am so not smart enough for that sort of stuff. So definitely don't take my word on it. But what we can do is just break it down a little bit. So thanks to our mates at Domain, we've actually already got a breakdown of both schemes and how they would work. So let's say, for instance, we've got here the first home guarantee, which is basically what ScoMo is proposing, and then help to buy is what Albanese is proposing, is that if we purchased a property worth $800,000, the 5% deposit would remain the same. However, Labour will contribute 30% as their help to buy scheme. Now, in this case, the monthly repayments are $3,196 under the first home guarantee because you own 100% of that. However, in the help to buy scheme, you actually own 70%. So 30% is actually going to be paid by the Labour government. So here you can see a saving of $1,009 every single month. This also doesn't account for the fact that, hey, if interest rates move higher, then we will also see this play out quite well because you'll save more as you go through. Now, in scenario A, by the end of 2023, if the property values decrease by 11.3% based on NAB's forecast,
because they have amazing economists and they know what's going on,
then the property value will drop to $709,600. Labour's share in this case would be $212,880. And the total equity in home that you would lose on the first one would be 3.7% versus in the scenario where you're in the help to buy scheme, it will be 1%. And the difference here is negative 2.7%. Again, help to buy is working out quite well here. Now, the cash position after paying off the loan and the Labour share would mean that in the first home guarantee, you would actually be minus $26,340, whereas in the Help to Buy, it's minus $6,818, which is a difference of minus $19,522. What this essentially means is that when the losses are incurred, if they are incurred, are actually going to be shared, which means in this case, Help to Buy works out a lot better. In scenario B, in 10 years, if the property values increase by 99.7% based on the change over the last 10 years, the property would now be worth almost $1.6 million. In this case, Labor owns 30%, so that's $479,280. And as a percentage of the total equity in home, you've got 63.9% in the first home guarantee, but you've got 45.3% in the Help to Buy scheme. So the difference here is 18.6%. You're about to find out how much of a difference that actually is. That number is $296,970. That is the difference that a 30% partnership would make in the span of 10 years if we were to look at historical data. Now, based on this, it shows that when things aren't so great, it means it's shared, so your losses aren't that huge. But when the things are going well, then you are also in a position where the gains aren't as high. So in both cases, it does definitely help people get into the property market. Now, the biggest thing in this is not so much which policy is better, you can make up your own mind. It's what do these policies do to the Australian property prices? That's what we're really trying to figure out, because there's some people watching this channel that have assets. There are some people that have one property that they live in already. So this stuff doesn't really apply to them. What you're really wondering is, do my properties go up in price now because there's now more money into the system?
Ding, ding, ding. I think we have a winner.
Now, logically thinking about this, now if you have more people being able to buy, that increases demand. You've probably heard this a million times on my channel, but I'm going to tell you anyway. If demand is higher than supply, we will see prices go up. Now, on one hand, we have interest rates going up, which could actually decrease the demand because people can't afford to buy a house anymore, but that's just going to jack up rental prices anyway, which means we've just kicked the can down the road, and in 18 to 24 months, we'll start seeing that demand come back into the property market to actually buy a place because they can't actually rent something. So in this graph, what we can see is that if we have the increased amount of people buying because of their super, it could jack up prices in areas like in Sydney by up to 16%, which would be about $134,000 as an increase. On average, you can see it's anywhere between 6% all the way up to 14% in other capital cities. So what looks like a really good policy to help people get into property, it also is a double-edged sword, because the people that can't take advantage of this or can't buy assets over the next 18 to 24 months are faced with the fact that prices will go even higher. The rich are going to get richer, and those who have assets win again. An additional thing to keep in mind with this whole super scheme is that 25 to 34-year-olds actually have an average super balance of like $25,000. And what doesn't help this scenario is that a couple of years ago, when we actually had economic turmoil due to the virus, we had the government saying,
You can go into your super and take that money out.
which a lot of people took advantage of. So to really address young people trying to buy homes, is this going to be an effective sort of solution? I don't think so. I don't think either solution is great. They both have their flaws, and there's pros and cons for both of those scenarios. The biggest thing I want you to take away from this video is that we have a government that is so driven by house prices, by land prices, and pushing real estate up, that despite what central banks are doing with increasing interest rates, I think it's going to make a very small dent in the bigger scheme of things of where property prices are headed. If you guys have enjoyed this video, definitely go and subscribe to the channel. If you want more daily updates, definitely join the Patreon community. There's a link in the description below, and share this video to someone that wants to make sense out of this nonsense. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks, guys.